how to deal with those moments in your life when nothing seems to fit. And I don't mean clothing, I mean like environments, people, places, things, Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting, and because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing. What I'm discussing in this video, I feel like my camera's a little bit off, but it's so tight. Yeah, there you go. What I'm discussing in this video is when you get to those places in your life where nothing seems to fit. Now, this can happen for a myriad of reasons, but most of you all, if you understand what I mean by that, you'll kind of get where this is going. When I talk about nothing fitting, it's like if you were always the person in a place or an environment to where when you worked at a job or you went to school or you were even in high school, I can think of as young as elementary school, where I just did not fit in with the environments. I didn't have a strong desire to fit in after some time, but in the beginning, I would wonder why I didn't feel like I fit in. I felt like everybody else was like getting along and doing their thing and enjoying each other to a certain degree, and they were all on the same level when it came to what they wanted to talk about, what they wanted to do, what they wanted to share, and somehow I always felt like I was on the outside of that, right? This even happened during marriage and stuff like that. I would go to the in-laws house and stuff, and I would sit and talk to them and all, and it's like I had to bring my level of what I wanted to discuss and share all the way down to like very uninteresting things for me, like what other people were doing, maybe some kind of gossip or something like that, which is fine and dandy. I can sit around it, but when it's repetitive over and over again, you start to feel like I just really don't fit into this environment. I've had this happen in the workplace a lot, right? Where you get in there and you're all excited about this particular job that you have to do, and you find out that it's more about the politics and people's feelings and whether they like somebody, whether they don't like somebody, rather than the actual work. And if you're that person that likes to just put your head down and get work done, you're always going to stick out like a sore thumb in many environments. I remember I had a manager once that said that to someone who was taking over management of the team. And she was just like, well, Jameelah, she just likes to put her head down and get the work done. She was okay with that. But the person that came in was not. They were always trying to figure me out. And I'm like, what is there to figure out? There's nothing to figure out. What you need to figure out is, what kind of work do you want me to do for this institution? And stop trying to figure me out personally, because when people want to do that way too much, it's just about manipulation and control. They want to manipulate or control you, so they want to know what your weaknesses are, how you operate, what's your issues, and if it's something that they can't have access to, they're going to eventually start giving you a hard time. So if you've always felt like that, you may get to these moments in your life to where you're trying to figure out what to do next, or how you should approach a certain situation, or what type of career you want to go into next, or what type of projects you want to work on next, or something like that. And there's nothing that's actually just calling your name, nothing that's actually pulling at you, and no environments or people or places or things that's actually making you feel like you fit, like, this is my oasis or whatever. This is I found the place. Another thing before I finish that thought right there is that it can easily happen where you are in these spaces and you are around people and they see it as rejection, when really it's the opposite way around. You feel like spiritually rejected by the environment. And that's not saying that you're taking it personal or you're angry about it or bothered by it, but they feel like you're rejecting them, but you're literally saying, there's a part of me that can't fully connect with this environment. I can pretend, I can contort myself a little bit to make you feel better, but I think that even when people don't recognize spirituality and energetic pull, they can still feel when somebody is not quite fitting in and are not quite solidified with the group, or if they're not capable of being that way. So it's like I can contort myself and I can kind of shape shift a little bit to make everybody feel comfortable, but when it's not an actual fit, it will come out eventually. It will show up eventually. And so when these things happen, the best advice that I have for anybody going through that is to be still and to be quiet. Sometimes you just don't know what the next fit is going to be. And a lot of times we've had these things happen to where we do get into these spaces. We get into relationships or friendships, or even in a workplace environment or a business relationship, to where we actually feel like, wow, these are some good friends. This is a good relationship. This is a good, sometimes we're wrong, but we think it at the moment, right? We think it's good. And it's like, oh, this is a really great job or position or whatever. And something happens, some turn of events happen, and these things are just taken away out of our lives. And we're just like, out of all the places, I've tried so hard to fit so many different places, so hard to make so many things work. And like, this right here was actually workable. It was like, good enough. And the universe was like, nah, I'm going to snatch that from you. The only thing I can think of is that is your spiritual evolution. And your only job in that moment is to be still. It's to be still, it's to be quiet, and it's to go back and recalibrate. Instead of trying to like keep on yanking at environments and people and places. Some of us even make the mistake of trying to dig back into our vintage pile of, connections and be like, oh, that person wasn't that bad. Let's see what they got going on. Or either a job or something that you outgrew when you were there, but it was 2 years ago. And you're just like, well, I don't have anything else to do right now. So maybe I'll just, see what those people got going on. I can almost guarantee you that environment didn't grow with you. 99% of the time, it didn't grow with you. And so we go back and try to dig into that pot. What we'll find is that the not being able to fit is even more exacerbated because it's been 2 more years of spiritual advancement and growth and expansion. And how are we going to go back to the mindset and the person that we were when we took on that environment back in the day? We can't. This even with relationships, the same thing. I was saying that in the other video, like it doesn't compute. When you overwrite your old programming with, like software, with new programming, you can go and you can have a lot of respect for a person that you used to be in a relationship or connection with. But the way your mind was thinking and who you were in that particular time when you met them and you thought that it was a special connection, you can't even get back there because you've evolved too much since then. And if we try to do that, it's just going to feel like an awkward fit once again. So when you feel like you can't fit into spaces and places and environments and you really don't know what's going to be the next fit and what to do next, your best course of action is always going to be still, to be quiet, and to recalibrate and to think deeply about where you are and how far you've come. I find that a lot of times that we don't even do that. We don't even consider how much we've changed and how much we've outgrown certain things. Things that we used to love to do, we don't love to do them anymore. Things that we didn't think that we were worthy of and deserve, that's our standard now. And so when we've shifted like that, everything around us has had the choice of either catching up with it or either being left behind or being somewhere out there in the peripheral. As I said before, you are the center of your own universe. Right? And when things can no longer orbit, because everything's orbiting around our individual universes at any given time, our jobs, our friends, our connections, our children, our finances, that's all orbiting around our life, the center that is us, right? At any given time, when those things are no longer viable, they tend to like float off. Think about it like space. It's going to like float off out of the orbit into space. And you can't go collect it again. Right? It doesn't have enough pull, enough gravity to stay within your environment in enough space, right? Ooh, that's a good metaphor that I'm throwing out there. It doesn't have enough pull and gravity to stay in the environment, right? It's not heavy, it's not solid enough, and you gotta let it be. So when you're able to do that, you can sit down and recalibrate. You can decide, you know what? I am this now. This is what I used to like. This is what I don't like anymore. This is how I used to be. This is what I don't like anymore. I would always suggest for people to make a list saying the old me and then the new me. And have a list of like, the old me, insecure about my finances. The new me, in charge of my finances. Not perfect, but I know what I'm doing to a certain degree and I'm always open to learn more. The old me cared a lot about what, family or something thought about how I was living my life. The new me is in charge and understands that I'm the center of my universe and that I don't have to explain or share or do anything like that with other people. The old me felt guilty whenever I took a day for myself or I took some time to myself because other people needed me. The new me knows that I cannot function without taking that day to myself. So if people are going to feel bad about it, that's going to be their energy. I don't have to take it on. So you need to go ahead and divide those things and say what used to fit what no longer fits. Because see, when you can get that more clearly, when the right fit comes along, the next thing that's supposed to show up, you won't be all caught up on like, what is it, how, when. You've already did some assessment. You've already sat there and organized yourself and say, this is how far I've come. I've used to, this was okay, now only this is okay. This was something I didn't think I was worthy of, now this is the standard, right? And then in 5 more years, it's going to change again. And keep recalibrating so that you can not walk into things that don't fit. Because sometimes we've shifted and we've changed and we've outgrown and we've expanded, and we don't even take time to bask in that new version of ourselves before we're trying to fit into some old space because we're a little bit bored or a little bit lonely or a little bit lost or a little bit frustrated. And it's not worth it. So when you don't fit or when you can't make it fit, you must have quit. But it's pretty essentially the same idea. If it doesn't fit, you got to let it fly. You got to let it go. And what's supposed to be next, what's supposed to be that next thing that, you know, gets your attention, that pulls you in, that drags you forward, it's going to be easy to see. It's going to be clear, especially if you make that list of what used to fit, what no longer fits. That's a game changer right there. Because then you can clearly see what used to work in your life and what doesn't anymore, and how far you've come. Be still, recalibrate, assess where you've come from, and in the meanwhile, the source energy, the universe is working it all out. That perfect fit for you is going to show up right as it's supposed to. But in the meanwhile, you can truly sink your teeth into who and what you have become, and who and what that person's standards are now. Anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.